Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this expanded in-depth evening news broadcast on the rapidly escalating Ukraine crisis, where President Donald Trump has categorically rejected Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's audacious call for a U.S. mission to capture Russian President Vladimir Putin. This dramatic exchange unfolds against a backdrop of stalled peace negotiations, skyrocketing casualties, intensified Russian missile barrages, bitterly disputed intelligence claims, and mounting economic pressures that threaten to destabilize not just the region but the global order. As of January 11, 2026, just days into this latest flare-up, the world watches with bated breath, wondering if diplomacy can prevail over brinkmanship. Tonight's comprehensive coverage weaves together the key events, historical context, expert analysis, stakeholder perspectives, and forward-looking implications, all drawn from official statements, verified reports, and the unfolding narrative of this protracted tragedy. Conversation_history. Let's begin with the pivotal moment that ignited headlines worldwide. On Friday, during a high-stakes White House meeting with top oil company executives, strategically timed amid discussions on energy security, President Trump addressed Zelensky's provocative suggestion head-on. Speaking to Fox News, Trump dismissed the idea outright. "Well, I don't think it's going to be necessary. I've always had a great relationship with him. I'm very disappointed." The him here is unmistakably Vladimir Putin, with whom Trump has long touted a personal chemistry forged during summits in Helsinki and Singapore pre-war. This rapport, Trump believes, positions him uniquely to broker peace, yet the president's tone betrayed uncharacteristic exasperation after nearly a year into his second term. Re-elected in November 2024 and inaugurated on January 20, 2025, Trump had campaigned relentlessly on ending the Ukraine war in 24 hours, leveraging his deal-making prowess. Instead, the conflict persists, testing his administration's credibility on the world stage. Zelensky's remarks, delivered with the sharp-edged rhetoric that has defined his wartime leadership, were no offhand comment. They came hot on the heels of the United States' stunning January 3 military triumph, Operation Absolute Resolve. This audacious raid, executed by over 200 elite U.S. Special Operations Forces from units like Delta Force and SEAL Team 6, involved stealth helicopters, cyber disruptions, and precision extractions to seize Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro from his Caracas stronghold. Maduro, long accused of narco-terrorism ties with Colombian cartels and Hezbollah, was swiftly renditioned to New York, where he now awaits trial on federal drug trafficking charges carrying life sentences. The operation's success, hailed as a masterclass in asymmetric warfare, emboldened Zelensky to draw a direct parallel. If Washington could neutralize one authoritarian in Latin America, why not apply the same resolve to Europe's aggressor? "The United States of America knows what it should do next," Zelensky stated pointedly, his words rippling through diplomatic channels and Russian hardliner circles alike. Conversation_history. Trump's rebuttal revealed layers of frustration beneath his signature bravado. Expanding on his foreign policy resume, he reflected, "I settled 8 wars. I thought this would be in the middle of the pack or maybe one of the easier ones. A lot of people are dying, mostly soldiers." These 8 wars likely reference his brokering of the Abraham Accords, Taliban Doha talks, and various Middle East de-escalations during his first term. Yet Ukraine has defied expectations. Trump spotlighted Russia's grim toll, 31,000 soldiers killed in the past month alone, with comparable monthly losses stretching back quarters. Figures corroborated by declassified U.S. estimates and Ukrainian battlefield reports. When factoring in wounded, missing, and mercenaries from North Korea and Iran, Moscow's human cost nears 800,000. Ukraine, bolstered by Western arms but manpower-strapped, has suffered over 200,000 confirmed fatalities, with civilian deaths topping 50,000 in urban sieges like Mariupol and Kharkiv. Economically, Ukraine's GDP has cratered over 35% since February 2022, its breadbasket fields mined and ports blockaded, while Russia's war economy overheats under sanctions, with inflation gnawing at living standards and youth mobilization sparking domestic unrest. Conversation_history. No sooner had Trump's comments aired than Russia unleashed hell on January 9th, escalating to a new threshold of destruction. The centerpiece, the Oreshnik hypersonic missile, a nuclear-capable intermediate-range ballistic weapon cloaked in Mach 10 speeds and unpredictable maneuvers, slammed into Lviv, the historic gateway to western Ukraine. This marked only its second combat deployment, following a test strike earlier in the war, and signaled Moscow's willingness to flex strategic deterrence amid battlefield stalemates. The overnight barrage rippled eastward, claiming at least 4 lives in Kiev, shattering windows across residential blocks and pulverizing power substations, hospitals, and rail hubs in Dnipro, Kharkiv, and Odessa. Over 100 missiles and drones saturated Ukrainian air defenses, engineered by Soviet-era know-how and Iranian Shahid variants. Blackouts plunged millions into winter darkness, evoking the 2022 to 2023 energy wars that left 40% of Ukraine's grid offline. Moscow framed this as righteous retribution for a purported late December Ukrainian drone incursion targeting Putin's secluded Valdai residence, a lavish compound amid Novgorod forests, where the Russian leader retreats for strategy sessions. Conversation_history. Here, the narratives diverge sharply, injecting poison into diplomacy. Russia bombarded global media with grainy drone footage and radar pings, alleging a deep penetration SBU, Ukrainian intelligence, operation akin to the 2022 Kremlin drone scare. Putin loyalists like Dmitry Medvedev thundered for nuclear reprisals, while state TV evoked World War II parallels to rally the home front. Enter U.S. intelligence. CIA Director John Ratcliffe, a Trump appointee and staunch loyalist, delivered a classified briefing to the Oval Office. The verdict? Ukraine targeted a proximate military command node in the Valdai vicinity, not Putin's dacha. Satellite imagery, signals intercepts, and human sources painted Russia's claim as a complete fabrication. Classic active measures to fabricate casus belli, derail talks, and fracture NATO unity. Trump, absorbing the intel, amplified a fiery New York Post op-ed, "Russia is the one standing in the way of peace." This public pivot marks a tactical realignment, blending Trump's Putin affinity with hardline accountability. Conversation_history. Zelensky pounced, decrying the Valdai story as a complete fabrication intended to justify additional attacks against Ukraine. From Kiev's fortified bunkers, he pivoted to opportunity. A landmark U.S. Ukraine security compact sits, essentially ready, poised for inking. Envisioned as a 10-year shield, echoing Israel's U.S. memorandum, this could channel $800 billion toward reconstruction. Picture cranes rebuilding Mariupol's Azovstal ruins, Black Sea ports dredging anew, farmlands demoned for wheat exports feeding half of Africa. Yet hurdles loom. U.S. congressional hawks demand ironclad anti-corruption metrics, while Trump's isolationist wing balks at open checks. Zelensky's wartime defiance, martial law extended, conscription lowered to 18, fuels heroism abroad but fatigue at home. Conversation_history. Economically, the vice tightens relentlessly. Ukraine's $150 billion annual war bill devours IMF bailouts and EU grants, with grain giants like Cargill evacuating. Russia's ruble dances on oil knives. Urals crude at $60 per barrel thanks to U.S. LNG floods and Saudi price wars. Yet parallel imports sustain Su-57 jets and Kinzhal missiles. Global spillovers? Brent crude volatility spikes heating bills from Rahim Yar Khan to Rotterdam. Nickel shortages from Donbass craters battery production. Refugee waves strain Poland and Germany's welfare nets. Markets convulsed post-Oreshnik. Dow futures bled 1.2%. VIX fear gauge pierced 25. Defense behemoths like Lockheed soared 4%. Trump's oil summit wasn't optics. U.S. shale floods Europe with 100 billion cubic meters yearly, eroding Gazprom's empire and handing leverage for talks. Conversation_history. Internationally, ripples cascade. NATO's Mark Rutte implored maximum restraint, dispatching F-16s while eyeing Taurus missiles for Berlin. Brussels unlocked €50 billion fresh aid, prioritizing Patriots and ATACMS. Beijing's bromance with Moscow, dual-use chips via Turkey, draws U.S. tariff threats. India and Brazil hawk multipolarity, abstaining UN votes. Domestically, Trump's MAGA flank, embodied by Vivek Ramaswamy and Tucker Carlson, rails against forever wars, contrasting Zelensky's Stade Hill testimony. Bipartisan Ukraine caucuses hold $60 billion supplemental hostage to border security riders. Conversation_history. Panning to human vignettes. Lviv's cafes, once buzzing with Lvivsk beer, now shelter orphans. Donetsk miners dodge drones for coal scraps. Kharkiv medics triage hypersonic amputees. Winter bites. -15 Celsius snaps. Unheated Kiev metro stations as refuges. Lighter beats. Eastern U.S. enjoys balmy 50s Fahrenheit, low precipitation, prime for tailgates. NFL playoff sizzle. Chiefs Mahomes dismantles foes, eyeing dynasty. Eagles soar in Philly frenzy. Conversation_history. This crucible forges legacies. Trump's dealmaker mettle, Zelensky's phoenix resolve, Putin's fortress mentality. Threads of hope? Backchannel Oman talks. Vatican mediation whispers. Peril? Oreshnik salvos inch nuclear thresholds. Stay vigilant. Updates hourly. Good night, and Godspeed to peace. Conversation_history.